Quote, the three most powerful men in the world, the President of the United States, the President of the Russian Republic, and the captain of a U.S. nuclear missile submarine, end quote. This is Denzel at fucking DEF CON. This is Gene Hackman punching him in the face. Two factions in a submarine drama, missiles, mutiny, and another great night at the movies. This is Tony Scott's Crimson Tide. Rick, what say you?
You know, I hate to be the dissenter. I hate to
You love it. You don't hate it. You love it. Just fucking own it.
All right, let me say this one thing about star power. I think watching this movie after having not seen it for 20 plus years, actually almost 30 years now, I think. I don't know if there's a film that displays greater star power, or at least the use of star power in such a way as Crimson Tide, because this is a very basic, paint by the numbers, obvious fucking action thriller fucking alpha war movies. Yeah, two alpha characters going at it.
Yeah, the young lion versus the old lion.
And yet, for all the misgivings that I have about it, for all of the problems that I have with it as a narrative, and most of that can be thrown on the back of Tony Scott, the director, what works about this film and what makes me want to watch it and made me add it to my collection were the performances of Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. There was never a moment where I wasn't caught up in those two men and the relationship that existed between them. And it was sad for me because all I could think at the end was they deserved a much better film. So what have I? I have this sense of disappointment in knowing that I'm watching something that doesn't rise to the importance of the material and plays it a lot safer as far as the narrative is concerned, where this is going to happen, that's going to happen, this is going to happen as a result of that, and ultimately it's going to come to this. There was never any kind of a surprise for me as the viewer, but I was captivated by the intensity of both these actors, who I think showed up to really give it their all. And I don't know if they realized that the movie is not up to them, but that they elevate whatever material is there. So I'm kind of interested in your take, because it sounds like you enjoyed the film more than I did, but you also appreciate the film more than I do. Technically,
I enjoyed the movie because of the performances and because Tony Scott knows how to make, and we'll get into that. Tony Scott makes interesting looking movies, whether it's at his most pop cultural or his most artistic. So whether that means the Bruckheimerization of the world or The Hunger. Now, The Hunger, I think, is a beautiful film. It's a stylish film. It's really interesting. You don't like it because it's short on story, and I get that. I'm not watching this movie because it's fucking Shakespeare, or because it's Kurosawa, or because it's this high art, so-called fucking masterpiece thing. This is a fucking 90s, mid-90s fucking submarine, better version of Hunt for Red October, unless maybe you like it more because it's more like real and like tense as a plot. I think this is better. Maybe because it's better, it's bigger on style, but at the end of the day, this is a fucking popcorn movie with great performances and with a great director. So I'm not, I don't have any illusions about what this is. I'm not going to make it. I like to look at themes and extract from that. But I'm not going to pretend that this is some fucking like great war movie. It's not.
Well, you mentioned you mentioned this idea. You made a statement. Tony Scott is a great director. Tony Scott is becoming a great director. I don't think he's a great director at this point in his career. If you look at the films that have come before, this is his 8th film, I think it was, and I think in the early part of his career, with the exception of The Hunger, which I will agree, stylish is great, and there was a lot about it that I enjoyed. It left me wanting more as far as plot, as I recall. Yeah, you know,
right?
you remember
that.
Yeah, and I stand by that. But then the subsequent films, Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2. I think he was caught up
Days of Thunder.
What's up? Days of Thunder.
I said pop movies.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I think he was becoming a great director, but he was shackled by the expectations of two things: being in the shadow of his older brother Ridley Scott, who had acknowledged masterpieces with both Alien and Blade Runner at this point. But also the fact that he was shackled not only by the shadow of Ridley Scott, but also the Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer producing collaboration that created those movies. Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Revenge, Days of Thunder. Most of those, I believe all of those films, The Last Boy Scout, most of those films are Simpson Bruckheimer films. They're enjoyable films, they're fun films, but they don't rise to that level. I think when you get him directing, and I hate to say that he elevated with a Tarantino script, but True Romance really is the point when you start to realize how great a director Tony Scott is. Because
this comes after that.
This does come after that. This does.
So
but it's hinting at it.
Becoming a great filmmaker. I'm looking at it in terms of like overall, he's had fucking overall career as a whole. Yes. You're looking at it, okay, timeline-wise?
Yeah.
If you can already see the seeds of him becoming a great filmmaker by True Romance, he's still on that path.
The seeds of it are being able to shoot beautiful beautiful pictures. I mean,
I think that's, even if this is gonna sound fucked up, but even if that's it, to me, even if that's all he is someone who makes good looking movies and he's great at that, I still think that leads to his greatness, his style, and I'm not even like including the Tom Cruise stuff. I'm not including the fucking Beverly Hills Cop 2, late 80s, early 90s shit. You know what I mean? Like, once he gets into like super highly saturated fucking Deja Vu and all that, and not Deja Vu, well, Deja Vu after, but like Domino, which I don't think Domino's a great movie, but I think,
but I love Domino. I think I have a great time in Domino because it's so batshit crazy, and it's so there's so many chances. I don't think it's a look, but it's also there are elements of him playing with in a lot of ways the 90s, the late 80s, the early 90s, mid 90s, and playing with ideas of the culture and what is represented. That whole Jerry Springer moment in that film, the way, he plays with the saturation. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Man on Fire is the thing that will be the only thing that you need to say that Tony Scott is a great director was Man on Fire. That movie right there. Um, I don't know what, maybe it was his third collaboration with, second or third collaboration with Denzel, but that film and why we've never talked about it on this podcast and dedicated an entire episode to that, I will wonder.
Yeah.
But, well, 10
There's a
years
lot
we've
of
been
shit we
doing
haven't
this shit. How Man on Fire, what I'm saying is how Man on Fire has never made it into that list we're slipping a little bit as far as I'm concerned with that. But
we have to do fucking Rocky.
yeah,
So,
well, we had to do a lot of shit. They'll throw Rocky like there was a reason for Rocky. I just don't fucking remember what it was. But the thing is with Scott, yeah, the elements are there, the look is there. But I think like with Crimson Tide, it's so fucking obvious, and I never felt invested in the story or the danger of the story. I felt invested in the danger between Gene Hackman and Denzel as actors, not necessarily as characters, as actors. Like that, like they elevate the material, but the material is never worthy of them. And the thing about it is, this film is a very real and problematic and frightening look at how close we can get to nuclear annihilation, and how, regardless of whether the U.S. Navy says the actions depicted in this film could never happen, my head says, yeah, it probably could. I believe Failsafe. I believe Dr. Strangelove, and I believe this movie as far as us putting together what do you call it, safe rails and guards that should stop that should stop us from reaching a point of self-annihilation. I believe everything in those three movies could happen and possibly have come to pass at certain points. In fact, I think there have been times when we're probably best kept in the dark on some of this shit that has happened and how close we've come to this kind of thing. But I never got a sense in the movie that is the narrative that's being depicted is in any way honest. There's too much cutesy shit there. The Silver Surfer line, and then once you know that there's an uncredited Quentin Tarantino rewrite, you get that moment with the horses, and you're like, wait a minute, now you're gonna bring race into this, and then you're not even gonna go anywhere with it. There was distracting, visually distracting moments, dialogue distracting moments, and overall choices that were made that pull you out of how real and frightening a story like this can be. And my attitude is, there is a better movie here.
So let's go into that. So
okay.
Before we get into the horses,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's a tease. Go visually. What was visually distracting to you?
Well, part of the thing was, and this might not be Tony Scott's fault, but I remember I as I was watching it, I sent you a text message. I was like, "What came first? Is this the original image? Are these the original images that we're seeing, or is that?" I find it hard to imagine that Tony Scott was cribbing off of Michael Bay, but so much that's in this picture, the Dutch angles, the type of lighting that you see in it, the cramped spaces, and the the quick movement of the cameras in some sense, in some cases, um, it's not Tony Scott's fault, but so much of that became the Michael Bay style of filmmaking, of cinematography, that you would see really bastardized in movies like The Rock or
Bad Boys.
Bad Boys, which is, you know, horrible performances by both Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, which elevates, or at least, or maybe even maybe denigrates is the word, to the possibilities of what Michael Bay. I mean, maybe it's Michael
fucked up.
Bay's handling of material.
Well, I think it's like it becomes this weird fucking marriage.
Yeah,
Or it's kind of like the fucking DNA, that double helix, fucking the two things that are like twisted together. That strand. It's kind of like one of them is the Bruckheimer production house, and the other one is Tony Scott. And you go from The Hunger, this kind of more European art house sensibility, which and with that, like for someone like you, the downfall of that is that it's not really plot driven. It's more atmosphere and more like style. It's art house. But you go from that to Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Days of Thunder, mid 80s era, which is Bruckheimer, which kind of lends itself to that spectacle, that the Tom Cruise hero. It lends itself to and that era Tom Cruise hero. It lends itself to Americana, fucking like the things that we're gonna come to associate with Bruckheimer productions.
Yeah.
And then it goes, okay, fucking Tony Scott does his detour of fucking True Romance, comes back to fucking Bruckheimer with Crimson Tide, but at the same time on a parallel fucking track, you have Bad Boys, you have The Rock, and it's kind of like in that fucked up, twisted DNA double helix marriage, you have kind of a back and forth kind of influence where I think Tony Scott, it was like Tony Scott's, what he was doing, lending itself to the Bruckheimer school, so to speak, and then that influencing the movies that I just met, these mid-90s fucking rock and shit like that, to where it's their version of basically trying to do his shit without him. But then he teams up with them for movies like Crimson Tide, later on Enemy of the State, where you can see his style dripping out of it, but there's still something like lame and pop cultural in a lame way, in a different way than Tarantino pop cultural, but like, especially like you're talking about Rewrite on This, that's like triple fucking shit attached to it. And then by the time on his side you have Enemy of the State, but then on the fucking Michael Bay or whoever the fuck did Pearl Harbor by the early
Michael
2000s,
Bay,
you have, so it's kind of like you have that back and forth. I don't know if it's necessarily a back and forth influence, but I think definitely by being under that umbrella, Tony Scott for sure influenced them. But then they like that kind of vibe comes to be associated with that period of his fucking movies. So it is this weird kind of it's like it's a bad taste. It's like a weird shadow that's cast over his shit, but he helps create that.
Yeah.
Because he created it in their house, so to speak. And so what would it have been had he not made the Bruckheimer movies? Would he have, number one, he wouldn't have been as popular, because that the hunger is not it. for fucking popularity. But would he have gone to the Deja Vus and the Dominoes and the Man on Fire and all that shit? Would he have even had the opportunity to do that? Or would he have tried to do it sooner and basically become like this like marginal, oh, that's fucking Ridley Scott's crazy brother, which he ended up being anyway, but like not as popular. So it's a weird thing to play with the possibilities of his career. After he, this is all hindsight, but it's fucked up, and part of me wishes he would have never. He never would have done Top Gun. He never would have done any other shit. But at the same time, like, it's what we have. And to me, is it a distraction to see? Am I thinking Michael Bay? Am I thinking Bruckheimer when I see Crimson Tide? No, because I think it's kind of like, some people are going to say fucking mashed potatoes are mashed potatoes, but I'm sorry, fucking Tony Scott's mashed potatoes are not the same as fucking Michael Bay's. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely, you're right.
It's not. It's not it. That being fucking said, though, there are also elements that remind me of. I mean, there are parts of this shit that remind me of fucking Black Hawk Down, his brother's shit, and they're very different. When Ridley Scott gets artistic, it's different from when Tony Scott gets artistic and art school and all that. And when Ridley Scott gets big studio, I'll say big studio bullshit, like, it's also different. And I think he does do that too. I think it's different from fucking, when Tony Scott did big studio. I'd rather see Ridley Scott's big studio bullshit, but I'd rather see Tony Scott's artsy shit. And that's also me. Remember, Alien I love, and fucking Blade Runner is my favorite film.
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot there. But this is what we fucking got. So go back to the visually distracting aspect of Crimson Tide. Are you watching Crimson Tide and saying this reminds me of Michael Bay? Or are you saying all of Michael Bay's shit reminds me of this? Or is it both?
There's a cross kind of thing where it's like I can't help think of, in a weird way, I feel like this is the two Sonny boys, it's like who holds the title, who created what? And knowing that Tony Scott is a better director, and that the films he made, even the films of his that I don't necessarily like, are better than anything I've seen with Michael Bay. A bad Tony Scott film is better than a good Michael Bay film, and there is no such thing as a good Michael Bay film. The Rock is fun, but
what's bad Tony Scott?
Beverly Hills Cop 2, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Spy Game, I hate Top Gun. I really hate Top Gun. I didn't like Top Gun when I was a kid. It was fucking horrible. The Last Boy Scout isn't very good, but I love it. I have a great time watching it. What the fuck else did he do that is...
The Fan?
The Fan is horrible. The Fan is horrible.
That's right after this movie.
Yeah, that's right after this movie. Enemy of the State I've never seen. But,
oh, really?
No, but Will Smith makes it almost impossible for me to like.
You should have seen it in the theater for $1 like I did. It was probably around $1.
Okay, all right.
In some fucking like tiny fucking like one fucking room theater.
Yeah.
Like, back in that day, it like with Spanish subtitles on the bottom, like that's how you watch that movie.
Okay.
And it will elevate it, but you don't have that, so you're fucked.
I'm not privy to that.
Gene Hackman is in the movie for like 3 seconds, and he's really good. Obviously.
Well, that's
Will Smith sucks.
Like always.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will Smith has only ever been good, I think. I've only ever liked Will Smith in the Men in Black movies, and I don't even think I like him so much as Tommy Lee Jones carries those films for me. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a. I don't think. And this is not a hating on Will Smith since the Chris Rock thing. No. I'll hate on Will Smith for by virtue of hating Will Smith.
We've been fucking hating on him for I don't know how much we haven't really spoken about him that much outside of the Chris Rock.
We're too busy shitting on Quentin Tarantino.
That's true.
We don't fucking...
but at the same time, we know when to give Tarantino his due.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Whereas, like, I don't think fucking this other one warrants that much. I mean, we've shat on fucking Will Smith for the Chris Rock thing, obviously, but we shat on him before for the fucking Oscar So White stuff.
Yeah.
And I know I shat on him for the Muhammad Ali stuff.
Well, that's personal with you, though.
But it's not personal because Muhammad Ali's not my fucking buddy. He's not my fucking
but you have a
my
great
buddy and me,
You're a little bit more. I'll say this much: you're a little bit more invested in a Muhammad Ali story, and I'd find it. I think. There are very few people that could play Muhammad Ali first of all, but Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, get the fuck out of here. No, and I think I think I think you were a little bit more disgusted. I think the only person more disgusted was Huey Freeman out of the Boondocks. They did a fucking 2 weeks worth of comic strips on how pissed off he was about that. Says a lot about Aaron Magruder and his politics. I loved it. I fucking loved it. I'll find them. I'll photocopy them. I'll send them to you.
You're assuming I haven't seen them, you know?
Maybe.
They're not fucking wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like,
not at all.
We all know that.
Yeah.
Now, riding that wave, let's go to the dialogue, the distracting dialogue. You're talking about the horses. Explain to people who don't know the reference to the horses in this film. Gene Hackman.
In the beginning of the film, Gene Hackman is interviewing Denzel's character to be his XO, basically his second command on this nuclear sub that's going out on not drills. There is an actual Russian. The gist of the story is that there are Russian rebels who are starting a civil war in. I don't think it was the USSR at that point, but it would have been Russia, right? And this Russian general takes over a nuclear site. So now we're at DEFCON 3 or 4, or whatever the fuck, yellow, red. I don't know where the fuck we are with it, but
DEFCON, we're in deep shit. Yeah.
But Gene Hackman plays this old school, and this is almost tired as well. Gene Hackman plays this old school. Seen it, done it, been in war, watched his buddies die in front of him, basically second in command to George S. Patton, although not Patton, but somebody in that realm, right? An instinctual, was he a colonel? He's not a colonel in this film. What is he?
He's a captain.
He's a captain. Okay, it's a captain. An instinctual captain. I got a gut feeling. I know what this is, and I go with that. Denzel is more of a studied college graduate, up and coming, highly recommended, very personable, very charismatic, and let's be honest, personable, charismatic, and you can't take your eyes off him. That's fucking Denzel Washington.
They didn't say that. They could have, you know?
Yeah, they didn't have to, but you know, it's all there, and Denzel is that guy, and if you look at him on screen, he's fucking incredible. He's and both of them fit into the mold in which I don't think that there could be better casting as far as the roles in this film. Gene Hackman as that character, Denzel as this character. But the conflict between the two is the old school versus the new school, the studied, the more analytical, intellectual approach to war, and more of an idea of, as Denzel says, the main threat in war is war, or the main, what does he say? The the most
Well, yeah.
dangerous aspect of war is war. Something to that
They're going
effect.
back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
They're going back and forth, and Gene Hackman's character quotes von Clausewitz,
Mm-hmm.
who is like, if you think about like pop culturally, think about if you think of the art of war, Sun Tzu. That's
Mm-hmm.
the from Asia. That's like the war kind of like manifesto, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And in the West, the not equivalent, but like that version would be von Clausewitz, whose famous fucking line is, "War is a continuation of politics by other means." War is a continuation of politics by other means. Um, so he throws that at Denzel's character, and he's like von Clausewitz, and he's like all fucking in it. You know, he's sitting in that fucking like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you have to say to that, bitch? You know, like that's kind of like how he does it, and
Yeah.
fucking and he describes Denzel as complicated. This episode was a request episode, and this one is dedicated, and I'll rededicate at the end, but to Swim Slim, and he was thinking of this character as having like some kind of like Trumpian analog, right? And yeah,
Okay.
that kind of like what you described as instinct, fucking demands loyalty, red hat. Yeah, red hat, anyone? You know, he he follows his gut. He fucking just does what the fuck like he wants to do. Old school, supposedly, like that kind of thing. He's in that tradition of like a John Wayne. I get shit done. I don't need to overthink stuff. Like that's for school. You're just a little fucking schoolboy. You haven't seen shit. In a better film, this old school, new school dynamic in Platoon plays out. Defoe's Sergeant Elias is more about camaraderie between the troops in the platoon and himself. He's a new schooler versus Tom Berenger's Sergeant Barnes. He's old school, chain of command, fucking one side fucking smokes weed, the other side fucking drinks beer and plays cards and this is the country. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, all right, we've got the fucking oh, these are the fucking Democrats. These are the people of color, and the fucking, and then these are the fucking beer drinking fucking white guys. You know what I mean? Like, you start to see some of that.
Well,
this
there
this
is that.
not as obvious.
But there is that. But if you read Oliver Stone and his description of it, I mean, I hope this doesn't step on anything. But Stone described it as the difference between fathers and mothers. So the Defoe character was more of a caring, nurturing, loving character, whereas Berenger was just to the fucking point, beat you down, fuck you up, and establish control. Yeah, that's and it was done. I'll say this much: it was done much better narratively. It was done much better in Platoon than it is in Scott's film. But here's the thing: with when you describe it that way, I agree with you. But the Hackman character, what I think when people describe it in this manner, and I would describe it in this manner, so I'm not excluding myself from that. I think you're on point in describing it in this manner. What I think most people miss is that in the earlier days of war, a lot was guttural. A lot of it was instinctual and having to go with what you feel at the moment, because of the lack of technology, because of looking at a situation and knowing how much of history informs the present. So you would talk about, like, in some ways, like you remember George C. Scott in Patton, how he would speak of the ancient Romans and the Greek Empire, and he would talk about wars and battles, and there is a study of the past in order to anticipate and prepare for the future. I think Hackman's character is about that, without understanding that we're reaching a point where technology factors in, and in this movie it's really obvious. What happens? The fucking radio breaks. There's a combat situation. Torpedoes are fired. There's reverberation, or however, there's like, and now the radio is fucking knocked out. We can't get the signal. We've been told to arm for nuclear war, but it's only a partial message. Gene Hackman's gut tells him to move forward. Denzel knows that, and in a fucking weird way, it's a cheat, because you and I both know that it's better to err on the side of caution, because if the message was to bomb them and he doesn't bomb them, the shit's gonna happen anyway.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, I think you're getting ahead of yourself.
I am probably getting ahead of myself. Go ahead. I'm. Yeah.
Well, hold that thought, but let's put that in a box. The central fucking conflict is,
we wanted to go back to
to launch or not to launch.
Okay, we'll get back to that. What we were originally talking about, it was the struggle between these two characters,
right? But even before that, there's something you said. You said about the
horse.
At a certain point, war didn't have to do that much with strategic, basically. But I disagree, because I'm kind of like,
no, I didn't say not was strategic, but I'm talking about the technology, about being able to get information faster and being able to.
That's okay. Now that you clarify that, because I'm like, well, from stone to spear to arrow to fucking slingshot to catapult to fucking bullet to fucking missile to fucking drone, like, it's always been about technology. Like,
yeah,
from caveman times,
sure,
Iron Age, Stone Age, Iron Age, Bronze Age, all that bullshit. Like, it's all about fucking technology. So I mean, the Romans and Greeks had historians.
Yeah,
Egypt had like. So people always knew, like, oh, last time, 3 wars ago, this happened. That's history.
Yeah.
If you they had this kind of fucking thing, and they were able to kill us. That's fucking history. Yeah, so, and that's a strategy. You know what I mean? Like, we should fight on higher ground. That's fucking strategy. Those are tactics. If you're talking about
march into a field, where a bunch of Indians are going to be hiding in trees, you don't do that.
I mean, people know what's up.
Yeah, they know. They know.
But if you're specifically talking about radio and communication, I mean, fucking, it's like send a raven to Castle Rock.
Yeah,
we had that too. But going back to the fucking to the kind of back and forth between the Hackman character and the Denzel character, and going back to before we get into the dialogue about the horses, which is kind of like what started this portion of the fucking episode, it was von Clausewitz, and then he was basically like, what do you think of that? And they were going into, the nature of war, and this kind of connects to even when we did 13 Assassins, the Hanbei character, which is he's not the villain, but he's the right hand of the villain. He's there to protect the Lord.
Out of duty.
He says, he's like, I don't fucking ask why. I'm here to fucking do my duty. I'm not interested in fucking in asking why. I just do what the fuck I'm supposed to do, which means I kill people and I die.
Yeah,
that's my job, and that's what I'm gonna do. And that's kind of Gene Hackman's shit. Whereas Shinzaemon in 13 Assassins is like, this is not just, or this is not right, or this is not legit. It coming from a completely different perspective, the why versus the how. And in that conversation, he says the true nature of war is to serve itself. So it becomes this kind of like military industrial complex shit, which is like war exists to further war. And the behind that is the idea that, well, if you're a fucking warrior or a soldier and you don't have a war, then you don't have a job and you don't have a purpose. And that's why motherfuckers who had no lord were like, I need to go find something to swing a sword at. Or I'm a fucking cowboy and I need to go to fucking Laramie or whatever fucking town and Tombstone or whatever, and I need to go beat people up with a badge on because, like, I don't want to be a bad guy necessarily with quotes, so I'll be a good guy and I'll fucking, like, it's all of that. And so Gene Hackman's like, motherfucker, like, we need to fucking kill or be killed because that's the reality of, that's how they view the world. Mm-hmm. And Denzel is like, if the true nature of war is to serve itself, then who is the enemy? And Denzel says, in the nuclear world, the enemy is war itself. Yeah. Because there are no winners. In the nuclear world, everybody loses as soon as you launch, because it goes back to Matt, mutually assured destruction. And in that sense, he's more fail-safe. He's more measured. He's more kind of like trying to prevent, versus Hackman is of the George C. Scott, Sterling Hayden school, which is just chew gum and fucking kill everything.
Well, you know what's interesting is that what you're saying right here, right now, it reminds me of The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. When they go to Vulcan.
Yes.
And Oliver Reed is given, I think, brilliant performance, where he starts talking about intercontinental ballistic missile. It kills their husbands, their wives, their families, their sheep, their cows, everything. It kills them all. And, you know, you get the privilege of being hundreds of miles away and doing it. And Eric Idle looks at him and says, well, what's the fun in that? There is a sense of Gene Hackman's character as that this is his purpose. You want to believe that there's nobility and honor in it, but it's not necessarily that. It's the adrenaline. It's the bloodlust. And I think Denzel's character has a level of that as well, but from a different angle, from an intellectual angle, where I'm gonna checkmate you on this, and that's where I'm gonna get my heart on, right? So,
well, yeah,
you know what I mean.
I'm gonna beat you on points,
and
I'm gonna fucking we're not gonna just beat each other in the ring. If I can't knock you out, I'm gonna win on points, but I'm still gonna win.
Yeah, it's still a victory.
I'm very Mayweather, you know what I mean, but without the douchebagginess. You know?
See, there are moments in this film that approach the quiet moments where they're going back and forth. That works for me. When Gene Hackman calls the drill while a fire is breaking out in the mess hall, I thought that worked.
Or right after, yeah.
Right after. And then the struggle between Denzel trying to establish himself, I think there could have been a better time to do that. And Gene Hackman, which is a valid, the men we're hoping that we don't allow this to flare up again and cause real damage. And what does Gene Hackman say? I feel it's necessary for the men to be on edge when something like this happens, because now it adds a level of urgency to it. He's absolutely right. However, somebody does die. Now, was that death a result of Gene Hackman's decision? Or was it, as he pointed out, a cook that was 300 pounds? So there's all kinds of if the film had been more of a back and forth between these two characters like that, instead of becoming textbook paint by numbers, mutiny, cross mutiny, whether or not the fucking radio was going to start to work, how many minutes do we got? Let's count down. I mean, they might as well have pulled out a fucking an hourglass and done it like that. But for me, that's where it becomes problematic as a story. So I wasn't invested in when I'm paying attention to just the acting and I'm paying attention to two great actors, two actors that I admire, one who is coming to the end of his career, one who is no longer with us. And as we were talking about this before the mic, um, think about think about how much we love that is no longer going to be with us. Spike Lee, late 60s, maybe early 70s. Denzel, 70. De Niro, 82. Pacino, 86. Duvall, 90s. Scorsese, 84. Francis Ford Coppola, 87, 88. Brian De Palma. I mean, the heroes of our cinematic foundation, yours and mine, that's going away. So the film that I'm watching is not enough to keep me interested, but the acting is. So in a sense, I'm really glad that I have this film. I'm really glad that it's part of my collection, and I'll be going back to it, and then we're talking about it today. But the film as a whole fails for me because the narrative is less than the greatness of the two men that that we are watching, that we are invested in. I want it to be better.
I get that. Yeah.
It's not and I don't feel bad about wanting a better film. I'm not saying this is the film that it should have been. I'm saying this should have been a better film.
Let's go back to the horses.
Okay, the horses. Yeah.
So, the horses.
Yeah.
They're doing the back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
and Gene Hackman, his character, starts talking about these Lipizzan stallions,
Mm-hmm.
and he says,
it's a callback to their first meeting when he asked
"Okay,
them,
so
what
just
do you do?"
give us the whole thing again. Go ahead."
Well, the thing is, when Gene Hackman is when the captain is interviewing for his XO, Denzel comes highly recommended. Denzel goes as basically a job interview that you've had, that I've had, that everybody listening to this thing at one point or another has had. You're asked these questions. You're asked to give your opinion. You're asked to answer the questions either correctly or say something that is interesting to the person that is interviewing you. What do you like
either
to do?
correctly or honestly.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What do you like to do? And I think it comes down to sports or this or that. And he says, horseback, horses. I ride horses. And Gene Hackman is kind of taken back by that. And he starts saying, I don't know if they mentioned that horse at the beginning, but Gene Hackman is like, I would be fine with just a nag. He says something to that degree, and something dumb, or, like a dumb animal with, potential or something. Then it comes back as the mutiny has occurred. Denzel has taken control. A small band of loyalists to Gene Hackman's character have broken him out of his stateroom, regained power, and are now struggling to, I think they put Denzel. Denzel escapes, so it's like a back and forth. And now Denzel removes the key that, obviously, there's a key. There's a fucking key that turns on the ignition to the fucking nuclear warheads, right? He steals that, and now he's face to face with Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman has punched him in the face twice. Denzel slow burns, looks at him. They're like, I'm gonna kill this old motherfucker, but he can't do it at that moment. And that's when they sit down, when they talk to Lilo Brancato, and they say, how long is it going to take you to fix that radio? Conveniently, 4 minutes. You have 4 minutes because the Russian submarine is 6 minutes away from being able to arm itself. They're able to put all this. Okay, so that at that moment, Hackman pulls out the cigar. Now it's a big dick contest between the two of them, and he tells the story of the horses. I hand that over to you now because you can tell this part of it a hell of a lot better.
So he says he goes Lippens on stallions, and he says it's the most highly trained horses. They're the most highly trained horses in the world. And then he fucking digs it, and he's like, they're all white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Denzel is like, oh, he says they're from Portugal.
Mm-hmm. They're not from Spain.
The most highly trained horses in the world. They're all white. Have you seen them? And he says yes. Denzel says yes, and then Gene Hackman's character says, "Yes, you've seen them, or yes, you know about them, or something like that." And he says, "Yes, I know about them, and yes, I've seen them, and they're not from Portugal. They're from Spain, and they're all white. But when they're born, they're not white. They're born black."
Yeah.
So you get this white guy, old school John Wayne captain guy with a red hat saying they're all white to the black guy.
Yeah.
And the black guy saying, well, yeah, I'm familiar with them. They're not from here. They're actually from here. And they may be white, but they're born black. So there you go, motherfucker. And so now you have this other layer that gets added to the story. And we had started this because you said that in a similar way to the visual, what you call distractions, this was a dialogue distraction. And you're saying that this is a Tarantino edition?
I don't know if it's a Tarantino edition, but if I were to guess at what Tarantino added to it, I would say two things: the Silver Surfer reference and this.
Yeah.
You know, it seems obvious obvious Tarantino. I don't know if he did. I can't say for certain that this is Tarantino's contribution. But regardless of whether or not it's Tarantino's contribution or not, it's distracting, and it doesn't fit into the story that's being told. Either make him a fucking racist, hint at it earlier, or don't bring it up. And if you're going to bring it up, do something with it, because they don't do anything with it. It's just there. So it's a soft jab that they do nothing with narratively. And it's like, for me, it opens up the possibilities of more story that could be told. It could probably be better told, but it's not pursued. It's not explored. It's left there dangling. And now you have this shit that's hanging over Gene Hackman's character. Yeah, he was a fucking asshole, and he was stubborn, and they allude to the fact that his wife left him and this is all he has. So he's obviously a miserable bastard, probably drinks too much, smokes his cigar, walks his little rat dog all over the ship, letting it piss all over the place. But we don't know that he's a racist. And I don't think there's anything there that says racist. But now you add this to it, and he is a racist, but it comes out of fucking nowhere, and nothing, and that's fine if it comes out of nowhere, but do something with it.
Like what?
It makes me go back to True Romance, Tony Scott's film, Tarantino written, where you go back and forth between the eggplant conversation.
What about it?
Sicilians are the spores of niggers. That pours onto this film. So now you have an added element that is put into this thing, but it's not adding to the flavor. It's not adding to. I don't know what. I didn't write it. I'm not the writer.
Okay.
My job is to
Okay.
point out problems that are in it. I don't have a solution except to say, leave that shit out and give them some other dick measuring conversation that they can have with one another. But when you throw race into it, now it's like it changes things. It makes it a much more brutal and
that's
it
too
makes it
much, or what?
uglier if you're not going to do
So
anything
what?
with it. If you're not going to do anything with it, what's
Well,
the point?
Well, see, what I thought was interesting about it, because if I think about it, I kind of disagree with you.
Okay.
I I I prefer that he wasn't this fucking overtly racist like character. I much prefer Gene Hackman's character to not even think of himself as racist at all.
Yeah.
But at the most fucking like key points, he's like, well, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like he throws it in there. And it's enough that you're like, yeah, this motherfucker's racist, but you never would have thought he was racist, like, until like it sneaks out. You hang out with him long enough and it'll leak out. Other than that, he's not gonna.
That's different. That's different.
So how is it different?
Okay, so what you're saying, if it leaked out, it would be him talking about his beliefs and then saying, but you know what I mean.
No.
This
Yes,
is
but
a
you
blatant
think that racist
jab.
people only say like, "Hey, by the way, these are my beliefs."
No, we're not
That's
talking
not,
about. No,
that's not
but
how people demonstrate racism.
No, but it betrays the story. So it's like I don't think this guy, if he's a racist, which I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he's not a racist throughout this film. But for it to come out of nowhere, because it comes out of nowhere, and then nothing is done with it.
But if he's racist, does it really come out of nowhere, or has it always been? It's this fucking black guy who's under him that he's like, and then finally he's like, this motherfucker, I'm gonna fucking stab him and twist it. Here, motherfucker.
I don't think it plays that way. I think it's distracting.
I don't know. I mean, like,
it doesn't work. All I'm saying is it doesn't work for me because
over racist. I don't need that.
No. I'm not saying that there's. I don't.
Confederate flag. I don't need to see a swastika.
No. I'm not talking about. Oh, let's go into his stateroom and we see all that. He's got the camera slowly pans over and Mein Kampf is sitting on the fucking dresser.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that. I don't want that. I don't need that. I don't need to pan over and see a picture of, fucking Hitler or the Khmer Rouge or something saying, hey, next time we'll get him, buddy. I don't need that shit. I don't need something as obvious as that.
So what do you need?
But if you're going to make him a racist, give me some subtle racist shit so that with something like this feels like it needs to be a payoff.
I like the plausible deniability of it. I like the idea of that, like, you would never, like, really think of him as racist, but when shit gets heated, out comes this fucking, the mask comes off for a second. I like that.
Maybe.
I like that because
you know what?
There's something realistic about it.
You know what? You know what would have worked for me? Okay, this is the writer coming out, and maybe it's good, maybe it's not. You have some of his underlings, the James Gandolfini character, that fucker with the glasses. Maybe Gandolfini's making some kind of comment, not dropping nigger. Not even dropping my Moulignan or something like that. Just something black. Something that says something. And Gene Hackman counters it. But does so in a way that isn't completely invested. So that this comes off as more of a payoff of like, damn it, he was a racist motherfucker, you know? I'm just saying that it comes out of nowhere. Before this.
But even that, wouldn't fucking Gandolfini's shit come out of nowhere? If he first said it, if you were to first say it.
Oh, if you look at Gandolfini, you know that fucker's a racist. Come on now. In this movie. That's Tony Soprano,
Anytime someone's
goddammit.
going to say
Fuck
the
it.
first reference, it's going to come out of nowhere.
No, I know what you said, but if it's a side character with Hackman reacting to it, it sets something like this up. What I'm saying is, there's no setup for this.
I don't think it needs it.
I think it does.
Personally, I don't think it
okay.
needs to be like, hey guys, we're going to foreshadow racist comment. Just be on the lookout.
Okay.
And then later on, when it comes, hey, you're not shocked now. You knew he was racist all along. Get it? All right, cool. Let's go.
Okay, if you don't, you don't need to foreshadow it. That was one way of
That's
going
what you're
about
asking
it.
for.
No.
That's what you're asking.
No, what I'm saying is, it could be one of two things. You can foreshadow it with that being the payoff, or this comes out of nowhere and now you have to deal with it. But it's abandoned. It's abandoned. And so later on, when Denzel is proven to have been right, and they're going up against the Navy board, and Jason Robards is sitting there, and they're sitting there, and you find out that Gene Hackman has said, "I'm going to take early retirement. I'm stepping down. Mr. Washington is correct."
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't ring true to me.
But he was correct. No, but then there's an afterline, because he's like, at the end when they see each other on the steps, he says, "You were right."
Mm-hmm.
Gene Hackman's character tells him, "You were right. The horses aren't from Portugal; they are from Spain." Yeah. And then he laughs and smiles and moves on. So he doesn't say, "Oh, you were right. They're born black."
No.
He says, "No, you were right. They're not from Portugal. They're from Spain." So it is revisited, and he doesn't back down from that earlier comment.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, Denzel Washington's character was right. No. So it's not necessarily that nothing's done with it. It's just that I don't know. I still don't know what okay, we did the foreshadowing thing. You said you didn't want it foreshadowed, but then you said basically the same thing, which was that you did. And then now you're saying you wanted something done with it after.
What I'm saying is, if you're going to have two main characters, and this is going to come out, if it's going to be brought up between two main characters, then it should be dealt with. Either there should be some kind of preface for it, or there should be some kind of conclusion to it. But it's dropped. It's left there. And I don't feel that ending really addresses the racial aspect of it. I think it's Tarantino's fascination with race.
Assuming that was what that was him, which we already
assuming that it is him,
you don't know that it is.
And I'm willing to bet. But even if it's not, I imagine that it would be I imagine it would have been a writer who was influenced by Tarantino's script for True Romance, and because it's basically the same setup. Gene Hackman sitting in one chair, Denzel sitting across from him, walking.
No, I mean, I get that. Yeah,
and it's really distracting as far as, oh, you got a director copying himself? That's shit. He's better than that.
I mean, come on. That's a little bit. Again, I'm gonna disagree with you, because it's like,
well, if you want to talk about theme,
when people have a style that's consistent, it's like, oh, Hitchcock, what a hack! He fucking copied himself. Same shots,
copying scenes,
same framing.
Oh
my god!
No, that's a setup. No, framing, lighting, mise en scène, that's different. I'm talking about, that's basically the same scene. It's much different than themes and mood that a director creates. A director can't really get away from their go-tos unless they actively try to, and then oftentimes it becomes glaring that they're trying to do something different from themselves. I'm not faulting Scorsese for the violence or the stones or a lot of the shit that he does, or Spielberg for even something that I don't like the way he ties everything up with the ribbon at the end, or just the batshit crazy dreamlike fucking nuttiness of a David Lynch. I mean, but you don't see them recreating scenes from their
I
other
mean, there are
movies.
echoes, there are parallels between the scenes, but I don't think it's like, oh fuck, this is the same fucking scene. I don't
For me,
necessarily think so.
that's a matter of interpretation or
Of course it
impression.
is. It all
Because
is.
as I watch it, I'm thinking, "Holy fuck, that's fucking True Romance." And it takes me out. I can't say that about Spielberg or Lynch or Scorsese or De Palma, or even when De Palma is blatantly ripping off Hitchcock. He's doing it with style. So I don't,
I
but
mean,
he's not,
again, it is
he's not
all
ripping off
interpretation,
himself.
but
Yeah, I know what you mean. But with
yeah,
but
you
if
don't
you
like it. So
but like look at Tarantino. Tarantino rips off entire scenes, so it becomes a DJ directing a movie. He becomes Puff Daddy. He's just like,
I mean,
oh,
we've
let me
talked about
redo
this.
this. Yeah, we've talked about that
Yeah,
numerous fucking times.
we've talked
We've
about
beat
what
that fucking horse is dead. But
the
yeah.
kind of when we did the Pulp Fiction episode, go to Libsyn, go to the fucking archives, take advantage of our fucking archives.
Take advantage of our fucking 10
there.
years of dedication and hard work. That's what you take advantage of.
And arguments. And
arguments, yeah.
Each person thinking the other one is kind of like off a little bit, but not wrong, just off.
Just off.
The Libsyn archive is fucking. It's there. It's free.
Yeah.
Go if you don't have the time, whatever. But if you have the time, fucking use it. We did episode 166 was Pulp Fiction, and we talk about how he fucking like steals the idea of like, okay, great artists steal like all that that philosophy, the idea of him doing the remix.
He's even stealing the quote from a great artist, so it's like,
I mean, yeah, and it's like, and that's been attributed to like multiple different artists too. So it's kind of, but that's a separate thing. But
I'm just saying he's not even original in that sense,
But he is original. He is original in his own sense, as a totality.
Mm-hmm.
So we shit on him. We also pay him his due.
Yeah, we do.
Tarantino is Tarantino. Love him, hate him, leave him, whatever the fuck. Getting back to this, there are things we like about this shit. There are things we don't. Yeah. At the end of the day, it comes down to it is about primarily the casting. That's the fucking strength of this movie. It has a lot of 90s faces that we've seen. It has fucking Viggo Mortensen.
I was shocked. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Ricky Schroeder, which was weird. You know what I mean?
Very strange.
It has Jason Robard, which we talked about. Yeah. Lilo Brancato. So it's kind of one of those from that era. You're going to see a lot of you may not know the names, but you're going to be like, oh shit, like that guy.
Yeah,
I've seen that guy, and there's something cool about that. There's something nostalgic about it, and to see Denzel go up against Gene Hackman, and they look like they're both fucking having a good time.
Oh,
I think Gene Hackman just really looks like and Gene Hackman loves being a fucking jerk.
And he plays it beautifully too. Yeah, he's great.
And I like the idea of Gene Hackman's character being a racist motherfucker. But we don't fucking speak about these things in mixed company unless we have to, unless they force us to.
I don't have a problem with Gene Hackman's character being a racist. I mean, I like the idea of his character being a racist, but make it more. Do something with it.
Yeah, we know where it's coming from. We get it.
You know, do something with it. That's all I'm saying. I just don't like the execution. I just don't like. It's just a matter of I thought it could have been done better. It doesn't take away from my enjoyment, because I still enjoy what I enjoy is Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. The only thing that I could say is I wish this movie had been made. This movie was 96. Is it 96?
95, 96.
Yeah. If it had made in 2000, I think Tony Scott would have been an even better filmmaker, and you would have had a more nuanced film that wasn't so cookie cutter Bruckheimer Simpson. And it would have ultimately been a more rewarding film because it would have been something that I think it would have been a classic. I think those two, and I think, but Hackman would have been older, Denzel would have been older, and their age at this point is somehow, it's a little bit perfect right here. The young, handsome, upstart kind of. I hate to reduce it to a go-getter, but he kind of is that. And Hackman as the old warhorse. I just wish Tony Scott would have been a more assured director at this point in his career. If he had directed this film after Man on Fire, I think we would have had a masterpiece.
I don't think he wasn't assured. I just think he was under that fucking
that yoke.
And as a matter of fact, I think Deja Vu is also another fucking Bruckheimer, if I'm not mistaken. Which is again, it's a weird thing where he's under this umbrella, he's under this banner, he's in the house, however you want to describe it, and he kind of like steps in and out. Yeah. And but this would be interesting. It would be interesting to see. Deja Vu, like, that's Postman on Fire? Fucking, is that, what does that look like compared to his other shit in these parallel?
Yeah, there's 5
careers
films
of his, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's 5 films. There's Crimson Tide, Man on Fire, Deja Vu, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, and Unstoppable. They have a really good relationship.
I think Deja Vu is also Bruckheimer, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't be sure, and but I'd be interested in seeing it, and I'd be interested in talking it, because it also has a very interesting storyline. I've never seen it. I don't know. But the fact is that
I saw like 20 years ago, I think.
I liked Unstoppable. Cheesy popcorn fun movie.
It is Bruckheimer.
Oh, it is Bruckheimer? It is Simpson?
Yeah.
Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer. I'm wondering if the rest of his career was Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer. All I know is that Man on Fire is great.
No, I don't think I don't think the Travolta one or Unstoppable are fucking
Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer?
No.
Which one's the one that's still alive? Don Simpson or Jerry Bruckheimer?
Huh?
Which one is still alive? Bruckheimer or Simpson? It's Bruckheimer, right?
I think Don Simpson is dead and Jerry Bruckheimer is alive.
Okay. Yeah.
Don Simpson's the cocaine, right?
In a big fucking way, yeah.
Yeah, he died in 96. I just looked it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be really interesting to, at some point, to revisit this kind of like dynamic and see what, if anything, if there is a fucking like At what point in terms of Tony Scott, to revisit this aspect of the conversation, is like, where does Tony Scott begin, and like where does Bruckheimer end and Tony Scott begin, just within Tony Scott? Because we know that the Michael Bay shit is gonna that's way more limited to basically like wanting to be what Tony Scott would do under that umbrella, but with the explosions, etc. Is Tony Scott different when he's not under this production house versus when he is, and how does that look?
Well, the only way to do that is to look at the films,
Well, yeah, and then talk about them. But that, that's a process. But like, Crimson Tide is Bruckheimer. The Fan isn't. Then Enemy of the State is, but Man on Fire isn't. And then Deja Vu is, but fucking Unstoppable isn't. You know what I mean? So he keeps like, he's like skipping, and so it's just interesting. It's weird, but in a way, it's kind of like, it's almost like two different manifestations of Tony Scott. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's on a dimmer. It's not even like one is night and one is day. It's kind of like just this one just has a little bit more of this or whatever. It's fascinating to me.
We also take a look at the films of his that Tony Scott produced. Because if he's acting
films of who?
Of Tony Scott's that he produced himself. Because if he produced himself, I mean, then he has a bigger hand. You know, he produced with Ridley. Scott Films or Scott Free Films or something like that, where the bird comes in.
Scott Free, yeah.
Yeah, they did that. So it's I'd be interested. In, I don't want to compare Ridley Scott to Tony Scott. That would be unfair. But to look at
that's also interesting, but
it might be, yeah. But I think Tony Scott would get the
they're
short
both
shift.
I don't understand how it wouldn't be.
I don't know. There's a part of me that feels that Tony Scott deserves to stand on his own 2 feet and deserves to be recognized without that shadow of his brother. I just feel.
Well, I think when you compare two different people, you each is standing on his own, but you're comparing them as a reference to the other. It's not
but it does come down to Ridley Scott made better films and has, his filmography is filled with better films.
Well, I mean, you just compared. We did a comparison right now, and you made a statement.
Yeah.
So is that unfair to Tony Scott for you to have said that? No.
Yeah.
It is what it is. If that's how you feel, if that's your conclusion, I don't think that's unfair.
It is what it is. I just don't like doing it. You know what I mean?
I get that.
You know, I think it's just shitty.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's fucking like, I think it's okay, and I think fucking like we'll all sleep okay tonight, and Ridley Scott could give 2 fucks about what either of us think.
Oh, absolutely.
Tony Scott is dead.
Tony Scott's dead.
And to go back to what he produced Man on Fire, Domino, Taking of Pelham 123, and Unstoppable. So he produced the shit that was at the end of his career. And so I think that might have a definite factor. I think you have a good point in that he had way more, like, at the end of the day, he had way more control.
Yeah.
And that coincides with
an interesting conversation. Yeah.
Maturity, you know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, so even had he made this film that same year, 95, but had he had the wherewithal financially to produce it himself, he would have probably taken way more risks.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So that's an interesting question of it. I mean, that's something that I think can be applied to everyone. If everyone were able to if every filmmaker were able to just be like, we're doing this. I mean, imagine those films. Now, granted, some of them, we benefit from the limitations of many directors. But we benefit from the limitations on Tarantino. We benefit from the editing. You've made this point multiple times. What's the woman's name? Once she died, shit changed.
Sally Menke, is that her name? Sally Menke, I think her name
I don't
was.
know, but once Tarantino's films got bigger and more
unwieldy,
the runtime got longer.
They became sloppy. It's like, pull that shit in. He had a Thelma
more
self-indulgent. Yeah, very much self-indulgent. He had nobody telling him, let's pull back on that shit.
Yeah.
He had everybody kissing his ass and telling him, yeah.
Film is collaborative, ultimately. I mean, regardless of what you think about the auteur theory and how narrowly you want to define the auteur theory, which is to say that a film ultimately is made by the director, even though it has many hands. Like, kind of what we've been talking about is under the shadow of the auteur theory, because it's kind of like, well, Tony Scott, how much of this is Tony Scott's imprint versus the Bruckheimer auteur theory? You know what I mean? The production, the influence of the style that came to be associated with that company. Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer, Michael Bay, all of that. That shit that it is that.
Yeah.
Where you go to a theater to have a good time, to see stupid shit, but it's explosions and it's thrilling and it's kind of like in that sense it's just like quick bam 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 porn for the visuals and for action versus something that's really has a more delicate touch and has more nuance and is more artistic. And I think the era that we're talking about that is his late period is a mixture. It has his artistic quality, but at the same time, it has what you want story. I'm not saying I don't want story, but I'm saying is like you really want a plot-driven narrative with good acting and everything that everyone says is good, all-around good movie or good film, however you want to call it. That's going to be, mostly his later shit with a Denzel who's fucking running shit. I think Tony Scott's most so-called artistic movie, I think, is The Hunger, which is his first movie, which that is going to come with those pitfalls if you find them to be pitfalls, which kind of like align with what you're saying, which is like it's just short on story. It's an adaptation of a book, but the adaptation, it's more, you're watching a fucking like more symbolism. You're watching more music video because you're getting less of the actual narrative and more of the vibe.
Well, that can be good,
and I'm cool with that.
It's just, that's harder.
We can agree.
That's just
we can agree that his later films have something for everybody. It's more like a fucking Supreme Pizza, you know.
I just think that his later films are more assured and are more reflective of what he wanted to say as a director. And I think they're, number one, I think they're better films, but I also think that they're more, they say a lot more about how he feels as an artist. I'd have to go back to The Hunger to really comment and watch it in the capacity of knowing what has come after. I think when I watched it that first time, and I don't really remember the film that well, but I remember watching it and just not investing or not being drawn in so that I could invest in the
I don't
way
think
that
your
I should
opinion's going
have.
to change.
Maybe or maybe
I mean,
not.
especially, I really don't think so. I think,
In that film, I mean, I'd have to. I don't know, but it's not so much that that it has to be story driven, because I love Malick, and a lot of his The Thin Red Line and The Tree of Life don't they don't have traditional narratives. Um, would you say that Inland Empire has a traditional narrative? I don't. I That movie's all over the fucking place. When you have
right.
somebody,
No,
but what I'm saying is that
point well
those are
taken. I
very
get you.
difficult
It's
films to
just
make.
how it's done. It goes back to the execution, like you
Yeah.
say. And whether you align with that, I think, um, I would say that specifically for The Hunger, I think, and it's interesting because it's like that's in the context of watching. Halloween is already creeping into the calendar, and that was in the context of Halloween because it's a vampire film.
Hmm.
It's a Whitley Strieber. It's an adaptation of a Whitley Strieber novel, and I think it's not an adaptation that's very like point by point, where it's like this happens, and it's more you get kind of the impression of what the story is,
Yeah.
and you get the vibe that Tony Scott is creating and the look. And it's Catherine Deneuve and Susan Sarandon, lesbians, and David Bowie, and um, it's that. Which I mean, no one's going to complain about that. But when it comes to what is taken out of the book and put in the movie, like it's got holes in it because it's just kind of like okay, it's more. Think of it as more of a sketch of what that book is as done by Tony Scott than a fucking direct adaptation where it's like, well, this happens and then this happens and this happens and then it ends.
Yeah.
So I could see how and I've read the book, so I can see how it's kind of like, yeah, this is very loose. This is very smoky and formless. You know what I mean? And it's kind of I don't watch that movie in the same way that I'm going to watch some fucking legal drama or that I'm going to watch some heavily fucking like plotted out fucking
Yeah.
from point A to fucking point B film. I watch that just to have stuff wash over me. And is it as fully committed to that as Terrence Malick? No, because Terrence Malick is like, abandon all hope, ye who enter here, abandon all plot. You will derive plot from this, but in the sense of like a dream.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It won't be, and that's also like a really, if you think of a non-American fucking film, you have plot for American films and you have sequence for non-American films. And I'm making a huge generalization, but think of like, this happened, but this was this, so then this and this and this, and then that happened because of this. That's plot. Versus this happened and then this happened, or when you tell someone about your dream and you're like, well, I was a dog. I didn't see myself because it was from my point of view, but I know I was a dog because I just know I was a dog because that's how dreams work. And you're like, and then I was a dog, and then I was in New York, but then somehow I was on an island, and then this happened, and then this happened, and it's just kind of like following these episodes of things that are happening and what happens and how does it feel and what did it look like and all like that. The Hunger is much more that. Tony Scott's later shit is very much, this Denzel is in this situation, so then Denzel has to do this, very plot driven, but it has a very certain kind of style and a certain kind of look and a certain kind of pace. So again, you get even fucking Domino, which is not Denzel. but it's crazy. But you get plot, but also with the freedom of an artistic touch of the director saying, "This is what I want it to look like." Turn it up to fucking very Spinal Tap. Turn it to 11. And I'm gonna throw in the MTV cuts and the shots and all that stuff that Bruckheimer liked to fucking use for the movies as well. So it's a weird mix. Tony Scott's a very unique situation where you can see multiple versions, but sometimes you can see them probably in the same film. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, that was really like European art house. That was a European art house moment of this fucking pop fucking bullshit Top Gun movie. Or, oh wow, that was really like, that looks like a commercial, like the most pop cultural fucking vanilla fucking to sell something shot in something really artsy. So Tony Scott had, I mean, in that sense, I guess you could say he was like artistically ambidextrous, where he could be really artsy, but he could also be very shallow. And maybe the one informed the other, and the shallowness was made deeper by the art shit, and the art shit was made more shallow by the shallow shit. Like, who knows? But either way, Tony Scott is always interesting on some level.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Buymeacoffee.com. Go ahead.
No, it's just I was agreeing with you. Yeah. Buymeacoffee.com. Go ahead.
Buymeacoffee.com /WatchRickRamos. Fucking buyusacoffee.com /motherfucking WatchRickRamos. Buymeacoffee.com /WatchRickRamos. This one again goes to Slim Slim. This was a request episode. Thanks always. If you know people who are into the fucking juice that we get from watching and talking about movies, if you have an asshole, that one motherfucker at work that you think might benefit from this, we're not really interested in taking over the world. We're only interested in going deeper with the people who want to go there with us. You know that motherfucker, hey, check this out. If the motherfucker is you and you're an island unto yourself, we are as well. Fuck it. Take advantage of the archive. It's at Libsyn. Watch this with Rick Ramos at Libsyn.com. A lot of times we reference what we're talking about. It's all there. It's 10 years worth of fucking shit.
If you go to the left side, if you go to the left side of the screen and go all the way down, you'll have a series of years and then months. You go all the way down. There's a search box. Search, little micro, magnifying glass. Punch in any movie. If it's in the description, or topic.
It's like
it'll bring it up.
It's like a porn site. Like we don't have interesting pictures, but whatever your kink is, you'll find something there.
Yeah.
We like it cinematically kinky. Goodbye.